Welcome to the 48th installment of ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. I'm your host, Tiff Wells. With me today for the first half of our talk story, he's entering year number 4 as the dual head coach, and he's now in year number 8 on the staff. For Wahine cross country and track and field, head coach Tim Boyce. Coach, welcome to Talk Story.
Hi, Tiff. Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
Thanks for joining us, Coach. Now, first off, who or what got you into the sport of running?
Oh, wow. I got into the sport of running because I wanted to get in shape to go out for the basketball team in 8th grade. So I joined the track team at the end of 7th grade and thought that would help me achieve some fitness. And turned out that I never grew any taller than I was in 7th grade. So track and field and cross country became my sport of choice after dabbling in basketball a little bit.
You just mentioned basketball. That was me, my next question. Were there any other sports you played growing up?
Yeah, I played basketball. And the other thing I was involved in as a kid was racing. From Central New York, and we drove and raced quarter midgets and mic rods, some of the same things that like some of the NASCAR and IndyCar greats did as a kid, I did as well back then.
Now, per the UH bio, it says you're from New York. Specifically, I want to get this right, Marcellus?
Correct.
All right. Yes. What do you miss most about your hometown?
Well, interestingly, I was able to get back this summer for the first time in a few years. It's just a really kind of small, quaint little place outside of Syracuse, New York. I just love like the open space of it. Living in Honolulu has been an adjustment. So being in the wide open spaces and the seasons that you have on that part of the country is also something we miss.
You mentioned seasons. Do you miss at all putting chains on tires during the snow season?
That I do not. My first full-time coaching job was in Oswego, New York, which is right in the snow belt of that part of the country. And we intentionally left that after a few years to get to Oregon and avoid shoveling snow, and gave the snowblower back to my mom.
The Olympics just finished this past month. What's your favorite event to watch on TV and why?
The 4x4 relay is always like a really exciting event to watch in the sport of track and field. The U.S. tends to be really strong in that event. So to see like 4 people working together to represent their country at the highest level is always an exciting event for me to watch.
In high school, you were a 3-time section champion. What was your favorite event to run and why?
I think the 800 was my favorite event because that was kind of the perfect combination of speed and endurance and trying to learn the pacing so that you went out hard enough, but still saved enough to finish over the last 150 meters of the race. I ran pretty much every event in high school, but the 800 I think was still my favorite.
When did you know you wanted to get into coaching?
That happened in grad school at the University of Oregon. I went there to study sports psychology, and one of my first instructors was a part-time assistant coach, the distance coach at Lane Community College in Eugene. And I was still relatively young and fit and asked if I could come like train with his runners occasionally. And that led to helping out. And that led to an opportunity to coach some people on my own. And once I had that opportunity and, had the ability to kind of help people get better and have a positive experience, that really motivated me to pursue this career path.
You mentioned Oregon, but also another school you spent some time at on the coaching staff was at Pacific University. It's in Forest Grove, about a 2-hour drive from Hayward Field, home of the Ducks. For those that haven't been there, describe Tracktown, USA.
one of the main reasons I choose the University of Oregon for grad school was because of Steve Prefontaine and like the legends of Oregon distance running, especially because that's what I did. So to be able to then, my wife and I got involved in officiating meets at Hayward Field, and then I ultimately coached athletes at Hayward Field. But it's like one of the places in the country where track and field like really matters, and like the sports page highlights what's going on within that program and within the sport internationally on the daily basis. So it's just just like volleyball here is like such a high profile sport in Hawaii. In Oregon, track and field and cross country are like similarly like really important and valued.
Now we know that all Hawaii teams have to travel a lot during the season. So for you as a head coach, when you pack that carry-on bag, what are some of the must-have items you have to take with you?
Ooh. The big thing is where is clothing and things that I don't get to wear here. My wardrobe on island is pretty much t-shirts or polos and shorts. So when we travel, I get to bring jeans and pants and sweatshirts and things like that don't get out of my closet ordinarily. But it's just making sure you have, the things you need for all types of weather that we might experience, and, lots of snacks, of course.
Now, we know that last year, Hawaii Athletics did have a series called Bo's Kitchen. Coaches, players showcase their cooking skills, their baking skills. Now, if you were asked to take part in this, what would be your go-to dish?
Ooh, I'm especially proud of the breakfast potatoes that I make. So I think that, combined with some scrambled eggs and homemade biscuits would probably be my first suggestion for the producer.
Now, ahead of the 2014 season in the fall, you were named the cross-country head coach. What factors led you to come to the island?
Well, the opportunity to coach at the Division I level was especially intriguing. To live in this area of the world was something that I never thought in my wildest imagination would ever be a possibility. So, those combinations of things like made it intriguing. It was a program that, had been down for a little bit. So the chance to kind of build something up and help it to be a bit more successful was also something that was exciting when I applied.
July of 2017, you were also then named the track and field head coach. Is it tough to double as both the cross country head coach and the track and field head coach?
There are a lot of us that do it. Prior to coaching at Hawaii, I had been the combined cross country and track and field coach at various institutions for about 15 years. So it's not something that was especially daunting, just given the experience that I'd had. Hawaii brings unique job requirements, given the travel and everything that goes behind the scenes in terms of that. But, I think that, folks like me like to kind of have their finger in different aspects of the program. So having the opportunity to lead the entire track team was a challenge I welcomed.
March 13th, 2020, Rainbow Relay is about to begin. Where were you when you were told that along with the rest of the season was canceled due to the ongoing pandemic?
I was sitting at this desk that I'm at currently, actually. We had San Jose State in the air, on their way to come compete with us. And, and we had the notification that the Big West and Mountain West had kind of shut things down. So once they landed, it was communicating with their head coach and like working with our administrators for like what the next steps were in this, completely unforeseen situation.
For the cross country team, they just took part in the Big Wave Invitational this past Saturday up at Kahuku. 659 days it had been since the team had last competed. How good did it feel for you, for the team, to get back out there and just be out there competing?
It was great. It was really fun. When the gun went off for the women's race, and our team aggressively got after things. You kind of forgot about the preceding 650 some days and just kind of concentrated on them having their best possible day and experience. But a lot of work went into the meet happening Saturday. Again, in COVID times, lots of challenges, but it was super gratifying to kind of get to the end of those two races that we hosted and look back and say, hey, we finally were able to do it. And that was really exciting. And on top of that, the team performed well. So that was especially gratifying.
And that was my next question. The team performed really well, and with 4 in the top 6, of course, Sophia Morgan winning the Invitational. How proud of you? How proud of the team were you in their performance?
Oh, super proud. I told folks before the day happened that I had no idea really what was going to occur. We've only been together as a team a few short weeks before this event. So to see everybody run so well and compete was especially gratifying. We asked them to be aggressive and to not take a back seat to anybody, and they really took that to heart. And it showed that they had done the work over the summer to be ready, to race in this early competition.
Last one here for you, Coach. Now, this week you folks are off. Next week you're on the road at the UC Riverside Invitational, of course, in Riverside, California, September 18th. What are you looking for from your team in this meet?
This will be a much higher level of competition than the meet we just hosted. So we're really looking to see our team mix it up, especially with the other Big West schools that will be on site. And this will also be our first 6,000 meter race in closer to 700 days. So we're just looking to see that they run with confidence and poise and put themselves in a position to finish the race strongly. Another building block for our season.
Coach, this has been so much fun. We appreciate the time you've given us today. Thank you so much. Best of luck this season.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here.
Thanks again, Coach. Now we need to take a break right here. And when we come back, we'll be joined by one of Coach's runners, Sophia Morgan. For Coach Boyce, I'm Tiff Wells. You're listening to ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. Welcome back to ESPN, the Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. I'm your host, Tiff Wells. We're now here with junior dual sport athlete here at UH from women's cross country as well as track and field, Sophia Morgan. Sophia, welcome to Talk Story.
Thank you.
Now, 659 days, that was the amount of time it was between competitions for your cross country team. Just how good did it feel to be back on the course this past Saturday up at Kahuku?
I mean, it felt good. It was a little painful, but, it was a reality check, and it's exciting to be back out there with all the girls. I'm really excited about the season.
Now, we were reading, some of the reports from the Invitational, and it was saying that your teammate, Kaylin Miller, led for most of the race. Was it your plan, your strategy to have a teammate lead for most of the race, and then you make your move over the last 800 meters?
I mean, honestly, I think she got a little bit too excited and went out too fast. I don't think that was anyone's plan. I just ran my race. I didn't want to go out too fast, too slow. I just did what I thought felt right. So I didn't have a plan going into it to lead or anything like that.
Now, we talk about this Big Wave Invitational, and we forget to mention that you won. So first off, congratulations on the win. How did it feel to cross the finish line first?
Honestly, it felt really good. You don't get the opportunity to win very much in Division I cross country. I don't think I've won a cross country race since high school, so it felt really good. I was really tired afterwards, but yeah. And the team got the win too, so that was really exciting also.
Now, having not raced in such a long time, what were your goals? You mentioned being tired after the race, but what were your goals for both you as an individual, but also as a team going into this first race of the season?
I mean, I had a talk with my coach before the race, and I asked him, like, where do you want me to be? He said, I want you to go out and be in the front pack. So that's pretty much what I did. As a team, we wanted to win. We were expecting to win. That was our goal, and we got it done. So
Now, for this first race, it was on a golf course.
yeah.
What kind of challenges are there for you when you compete on a golf course for a race?
Kahuku is a little different because there's so many potholes. Like, we were stepping in holes all over the place. The footing was not very good. It was challenging. Some golf courses are a little smoother than that. And then it rained a little bit also, and it was very windy, but overall it was pretty fun.
Now, born and raised in Langley, Washington, what sports did you play growing up, and when did you first become interested in cross country?
I did like every sport you can think of when I was younger. I started gymnastics. I played soccer. Actually got recruited to play soccer freshman year. I did everything. I did a lot of different. But then when I was I decided to go out for cross country because my dad had done it, so had my siblings. So yeah.
Now, on the night before a big race or just a race in general, what's on the dinner menu?
Honestly, whatever they give us at Sodexo. I'm a big fan of any form of carbs, potatoes, pasta, and then obviously protein. I like chicken before a race.
Now, your parents, Michael and Tommy, now be careful with your next answer here. Of the two, who's better in the kitchen?
I would have to say my dad. My mom it's not her strongest talent. My dad's okay. He's an okay cook.
If you do go home though for a visit, what are some of the dishes you're gonna ask them to make for you?
Ooh, I don't know. That's a tough one. They make me cook for myself a lot when I go home. I would say salmon. My dad is a salmon fisherman, so we always have fresh fish at home. So salmon, rice, some vegetables, something like that.
You have two other siblings. Of the three of you, who's the best athlete?
I would have to say myself.
Good pick. Now, when it came time to picking colleges, we know first off you went to South Dakota, but what other schools were you looking at?
I mean, that was like 5 years ago now, 6 years ago, so it's hard to remember, but I was looking at a lot of schools on the West Coast, so California schools, Cal schools. And then I also looked at Idaho State and Montana. So
now, being a student athlete is hard enough as it is, but while at South Dakota, you lettered in two sports. How did you manage your time with both soccer and track and field?
I mean, there is a reason that I had to quit soccer. It's really, really hard to manage that. I don't know if I recommend it. I certainly wasn't cut out for it. I mean, I had other challenges. I had concussions and stuff too that played a role in that. But it's really difficult. It's really difficult. It's easier to do track and cross country because they're more of the same. But when you're on the soccer field, it's sprints. It's 90 minutes of sprints, which is really different than, doing a cross country race or like a 3K or a steeplechase. So.
As we go on your Instagram page, we notice that you're quite adventurous, and one of your hobbies happens to be snowboarding. Is there a place or two around the world that's on your bucket list to go and snowboard at?
Ooh. I want to go to Japan. I want to go there, snowboard there. Other than that, I don't know. I went to Switzerland. I skied in Switzerland once. That was really fun. I'd go back there.
Do you prefer skiing or do you prefer snowboarding?
I started out skiing and then added snowboarding. So, I mean, I don't really know. It's about 50-50 for me.
Now we're recording this on a Wednesday. Your first official practice for cross country was yesterday, was on Tuesday. How nice was it to be back with your team again?
I mean, it feels so great to be back with the girls. There's a lot of changes on the team. There's some new people, but they're all fitting in really well. It feels so good to be back with Tim and have everything be in person. So, yeah, it's a great feeling.
March of 2020, you're in the middle of track season when you folks find out that first that the Rainbow Relays were canceled, then later the Rainbow Relays were canceled, and the rest of the conference season was canceled as well. Where were you when you heard this news?
I was in my dorm, and I was on the phone with my mom, actually, I think. And I just remember being so upset because it was the day before I was supposed to run my first steeplechase, and I was so excited. I'd been working so hard for it, and then we get this one text and everything's over. But I mean, leading up to it, I'd had like a couple of friends and other conferences text me saying their seasons had been canceled, and so I kind of knew it was coming. I was just hoping that it would like hold off a couple of days so I could race, or
Now, once things began, once things started to fall in place, and of course the season got canceled, and there was a time where facilities they were closed. How did you manage to stay in shape when facilities were closed for a time?
I just use it as motivation to get outside and do whatever I could outside. Because I know a lot of people like either they lost motivation and stopped doing everything, or they just grind it out, just hoping for a season to come back. So I just use it as like, I don't know, kind of a fire. And I just use that to fuel me. And I just trained outside a lot, trained with friends back home. So
Cross-country runner as well as a distance runner for track, two sports, different seasons, of course. If you have a day off, which it may seem like it is very rarely the case, how are you spending your day off?
I gotta be honest, I would love to take like a 3-hour nap and just spend the day, I don't know, with my teammates at the beach. I like to surf also. If I have extra energy, I like to go for a hike.
You mentioned earlier you compete in the steeplechase, and of course it involves a barrier and maybe a water hazard or another type of ditch. As you take us through your approach as you get near that barrier that's right in front of you, whether it's a water hazard in behind it or if it's just like an empty ditch.
Yeah, it's all about just confidence and just visualizing it, knowing that you're going to get over it. Because if you have any doubts going up to it, you're going to clip it, you're going to stutter step, you might fall. So I think the most important thing is just like having the confidence, just telling yourself you're going to get over it and you're going to speed up and you're just going to power through it. That's usually what's going through my head.
Now on the track, we mentioned steeplechase. Of course, it involves water. Does it make it easier to run with wet socks, say for a cross-country event? Because you mentioned that at the Big Wave Invitational, it was raining just a little bit.
So I actually don't use socks. I have a lot of blisters to show for it, but I prefer to run without socks. Not when I'm training races.
Last one here for you, Sophia. And again, thank you so much for your time. We know that UH teams travel a lot during the season. You, of course, doing double the travel with cross country and both track. When you begin to pack that carry-on bag, what are some of the must-have items you have to have with you?
Lots of snacks for sure. And usually it's a lot colder where we end up. So lots of sweats, hoodies. Obviously make sure you have your uniform. That's a big one. And your spikes. Yeah, but mostly snacks. We load up on the snacks.
Sophia, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for your time today that you gave us. Thank you so much. Best of luck this upcoming season.
Thank you so much.
For Sophia, as well as Coach Boyce, as well as the rest of us here at ESPN Honolulu, I'm Tiff Wells saying thank you so much for joining us here on our joint cross-country/track and field 48th edition of ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. Until next time, wear that mask, stay safe, and be socially distant.